The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm fine. I haven't been talking to you for like the past hour and a half or anything.
Not at all. That hasn't been going on at all.
Nope. This is the first time we've seen each other today. Just kidding.
Right? This is so the first cup of coffee I've had today. No, of course not.
I have to be careful.
Yeah.
I'll get up at like 7. That's just, I should wake up early. Gotta get up early.
Yep.
And I'll just start and I'm like, no, I have to drink little cups.
I
gotta space out my caffeine intake so I can enjoy it while we're together.
Yeah. Oh man, I love sitting down with Sweetie's letters, enjoying some coffee, time traveling back into now. Hey everybody, it's 1950.
Yes, we are definitely time traveling because now currently it's autumn. Where the days are starting to get shorter, and we're in this time period. I do love this time of year, but when I was reading this letter, I was transported into that time after Christmas when it's like it's just cold and you're dealing with the yuckiness and the snow and this is what life is and I could feel the whole atmosphere when I was reading this letter of like where Sweetie was, and it's like it's such a nice time of year. Pause, reflect, plan, prepare for spring and everything. And that definitely was all in this letter today.
Oh, yeah. The one thing we didn't get in the recent episodes, and we knew we'd had a couple hints about what Christmas was going to be like. Sweetie spent a lot of time in the lead up to Christmas telling people not to send her presents, like not to send things. And then she had loaded Lewis with vitamins to be like, we're not getting sick. We're not getting sick. And then the last little note, like a postcard that she sends out to Jean, was back on December 20th of 49. And she says, Lewis has the flu. And it was like, oh, wah, wah. And then all of a sudden we had Chester end the year when he talked about how he set 2 acres of his farm on fire so he could get cool photos. And lied about it to the town of Lacona for the whole time. So, by the way, I reached out to one of the Butler descendants about that episode to spread the word, to ensure that people in Lacona got word about that episode, because the truth needs to be out there. We need to resolve that history for the town with regards to Dr. Demaree. And then, of course, we had last week's episode, which Chester again kicks off the year. And what we didn't get the whole time is what actually happened at Christmas 1949. So this is the episode. If you were wondering what happened at Christmas 1949, Sweetie decided it was time to write one of her specialty letters, which we like to call the mega letter.
It's a mega letter today.
A mega letter.
We only have the one. There's absolutely no way we could sit here for longer and do another letter after this. And especially because, well, I'll just leave that till next episode. But this is a fabulous letter.
Oh, yeah.
She has such a way with words. And there was a couple of times when I'm like, I had to stop and look up some stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, that's a word? Okay. No, I believe you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yes, it's really lovely. And it's really long and it goes over so many different things. And I'm excited because we're going to see some new things today too. So
yes. And if the spirit of sister is listening in, Sweetie apologizes if you're not strong enough to get through the entire letter with us in one sitting. So, we'll just, every time now in the back of my mind is when we get to a mega letter is This might be too long for sister.
I know, sister. She's just gonna have to take it. She's gonna have to take it in chunks.
Yeah,
Well, she is older than everybody else.
Yeah,
so she's probably like, she has to get to bed early and stuff.
Yep. But yeah, right before we dive in though, let's just go through some housekeeping items here. Hey, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to the Love Sweetie podcast. If you're following along on YouTube, we very much appreciate that. You'll see the little subscribe button. Go ahead and click that. There's a little bell icon if you want to be notified when there's new episodes available. Again, every Sunday, new episode coming out for the Love Sweetie podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, which has the podcast channel there and all of the rest, if you could click the follow, download, whatever button it is, we appreciate that. Welcome to all of our new listeners, whether they're on YouTube or on the audio channels, and then leave a review if you're on the podcasting platforms. That really helps with other people finding it. I've been seeing, it's really interesting. I was telling Jamie, with the way that we do the audio, we can actually tell like certain states that people are listening from. And it's fun when we get to see some new states come online. So let's get the podcast spinning some more. Welcome Nebraska today. That was really, really fun. I was like, woo! New state, new listener in that state. So whoever you are out there listening to the audio, it was noticed, and we appreciate you listening from the Midwest. So welcome. And then just check out our website for more photos at www.lovesweetiepodcast.com. There will be a couple of photos in this episode tied into the story. For our audio listeners, you can go to the website and find the relevant photos there.
And so now, let us step back to 1950.
County Line Road, Hatboro, Pennsylvania, February 2nd, 1950. Dear Mama, Papa, Lizzie's, Frank's, Florence, Jean. Well, kids, here it is, the long-promised, I hope long-awaited, and welcome letter. Sister, resign yourself to 2 or 3 hitches, for this must be a long one, since I've been so negligent. Christmas Eve, we put Louis to bed and started the job of trimming the tree. There is always some work left undone until the last minute, and with Lou finishing a lamp he made for Joe and picking up the pine needles scattered off the tree, we heard the milkman deliver the milk and rattle the bottles before we were in bed. I'm glad that Christmas comes only once a year, and yet I'd sure hate to miss the excitement of that one time. As I wrote before, we decided we'd get by on just the least we could, and we did. I'm grateful to all of you for sending what you did, or else it would have seemed pretty skimpy to Louis. He was thrilled. He did get the steam shovel he had asked for, and we bought a truck separately that filled the bill very nicely. Those were the most interesting at the moment. But his books are such a lasting interest and satisfaction, and unwrapping gifts was such a thrill. He was very reluctant to leave the tree and toys to go down to Aunt Betty's house. We compromised, and he took the steam shovel and truck along to show and play with. Joe and Marguerite were over for Sunday, Christmas Day, only, as he had to return to New York for a television rehearsal. But they were there. Grandmom Graham was there, and at about 2:30 in the afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Brown came over. Elizabeth and the family saved their gifts until Brown's got there, and so we went through the gift opening again. I was really embarrassed, as we just could not give them expensive gifts, and received so many more that I felt almost ashamed. Marguerite is like Jean, claims Christmas is her annual drunk, and she really goes overboard in buying them. We had a big Christmas dinner, 18-pound turkey, and everything that was ever intended to go with it. We left to come home at about 6:30 or 7, and of course, Louis fell asleep on the way. On Monday, G-Mom, Elizabeth, Bob, and Mr. Brown came up here to see our tree and have lunch with us. They brought along the turkey, and we had turkey sandwiches and a nice lunch. Louis has taken great pride in his toys, promised he'd not break a one, but left a little filling station laying on the floor. I accidentally kicked it and broke off a little plastic light. He cried instantly, said Santa Claus wanted his toys kept unbroken, and repeatedly scolded, "It is your fault." The fact that he should have picked it up and kept it out of the way was merely an "oh, by the way," and the fault is mine. The toy gun that Papa sent him is really one of the nicest toys of its kind that I've ever seen. He enjoys it very much, and I'm surprised at how well he uses it at times. We found an ordinary ping pong ball at G-Mom's, but it doesn't work as well as the red one, and so we run hard on him pretty close to make sure the red ball does not also become a casualty. As I wrote Papa, he has found that to shoot the metal Venetian blind produces a rifle-like crack that is enough to lift the hair right off your head. His chief delight, and it is just plain wicked too, is to wait until I'm sitting quietly reading the paper in the morning, and while it is spaced out before me, entirely shutting off my view, he gets that gun and shoots the paper while I'm reading it, and maybe that is not enough to shorten your life by a few years. Big Lou has showed him how to shoot on an angle, shoot at the ceiling, and let the ball hit on the rebound. Jean sent him some farm equipment that is about the best I've ever seen in miniature. He is surely crazy about it, and is more inclined to keep it well taken care of rather than risk another fatality by my feet. We had an opportunity to use his Christmas sled from Marguerite and Joe yesterday when we had our first real snow this year. We bundled up real good and walked to the store about a mile away and back, and he thoroughly enjoyed it. Didn't want to come in, even though, he would admit, his hands and feet were cold. I'm almost glad the snow is melting and the rain is falling, lest I be coerced into another such jaunt.
That was so lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, yes, little boys, they like to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's hilarious that he's like, and then his daddy showed him how to shoot at an angle.
Oh yeah, this is a neat way to do it. Thanks, Lou.
But it was really lovely. And it definitely gave me that feeling that you have when you're all the families together for Christmas, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's cold out, but it's still enjoyable. And
Oh
he
yeah.
didn't want to come inside either, even though he was cold. Of course he doesn't want to come
No.
inside. Oh,
It's just such a delightful. So
yeah.
he did have the flu. He must have felt well enough because she makes no mention of it. He must have recovered just in time
Yeah.
for all of this to occur. And then we get the scene this is one of the first times we've seen Elizabeth or Dit referenced as Aunt Betty. So they're going over to Dit's house. She's got this giant feast laid out. And I always love like the after Christmas when you have all the turkey for like turkey sandwiches and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's like the best, right? So when she mentioned that, I'm like, this is a good season. Like, yeah, they're bringing over the leftovers. And I have a friend that he's like, Allison, you're obsessed with leftovers. Sometimes leftovers are just amazing on their own. And then she talks about the process of opening the presents. They kind of did this first round over at the house. And then everybody's together and they're going through this. And this just made me think of when I was a kid up at my grandmother's house, where we wouldn't get to present opening until like 11 o'clock in the morning on like Christmas Day or noon. And everybody was in a circle and we took turns. So you couldn't open your next present until like 9 or 10 people in a circle opened theirs. And for the kids, sometimes it was really difficult because like the adults would like open a sweater and be like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. We're like, come on. Like,
yeah, that's great.
Next sweater, thank you. Move along now.
But in this family, Lewis is the only child.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like definitely doting on him more. He's
sure.
getting stuff sent out from the West because they don't see him. So of course they're sending presents.
Well, Bobby, there's also now there's Dit's kid.
But he's like 2, right?
He's not really reacting to
things. He's a baby still.
Doesn't even mention it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he probably got stuff anyway though.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He's like, oh, the paper and boxes. Yeah, I'm good. So, but it's very lovely, and we get to see like about what his Christmas was like, and too, like he did have the flu when they lived in Norwood. He was sick all the time.
All the time.
And that was more industrial. That was a more industrial area, and of course, then they also had the coal. They had coal heat that kept their house really, dirty from the coal dust. Yeah. Now they're in the country with an oil furnace. I wonder if perhaps he's not getting as sick as often because the air is a little bit cleaner and it's not affecting this one.
The air is, though. If people want to do some research, and I encourage people to research this on their own, NAS Willow Grove, which they're in the immediate vicinity of, is one of those bases where there's questions about the water in the area. It's one of those industrial bases. Johnsville, there's another air base not too far along. So, and I know this has been in the news recently, like the testing for some of the stuff that was deep in the ground from this way. Now, this is initially after the building, so probably not affecting the area at the time, but there's stories about that. But environmentally, yeah, it seems a lot more clear air than down close to the oil refineries that were close to Philadelphia.
So it was a good recap of what happened and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, she said this is a mega letter, so we have a lot more to go.
Yep. I wrote somebody, Sister, I guess about going up to a little store to watch Uncle Joe on his television play. He had been on 2 weeks before, but we didn't have any place to see it. Later found a little store that has a set, and we went up there, bought an ice cream cone, and watched, and then explained that Joe was to be on, and could we come to see it. There is quite a set that frequents the place, and attendance seemed rather heavy that night. Their taste ran to the comedy instead of a period play, as this was. It was somewhat spoiled by their ill-mannered talking, etc., but seemed really interested in the fact that we had kin on the show, and while Joe made an excellent appearance, his part was small and fleeting. I found I was quite tense, with moistened palms when he did appear, and felt quite proud of him, even though it was so brief. Television here is so very common that you're an extraordinary family not to have it. There is so much entertainment that we are considering the installment plan to get one for us. We seldom go anywhere, and there is a full week's entertainment in one night of television. Sister wrote that they hope to have it soon, and sent along an article of the station at Ames. But we are waiting and waiting, hoping they will be a little better and a little cheaper before long. I understand they expect to have color sets on the market by July, but I think they'll be too expensive, and have also read the color adapters will be reasonable later on. Nothing definite has been decided yet, as I'm still campaigning for a freezer to take care of all the garden truck I'm planning to grow this year. Boy, what couldn't we do if we had a little money? Or better still, a lot. I'm daily glad and relieved that Mama has recovered from the siege of illness that scared hell out of me, to put it bluntly, and I trust that in the future I shall not be kept in the dark too long. Seems strange you could have fooled so many doctors, and yet I can understand that too. Do keep close track of the blood pressure, and while you're trying to slow Papa down a little, slow down yourself too. You can't know the relief I felt to hear you were all right. If you have difficulty in telling how they probed and punched, you know how I feel when I tell you that I was already checking train schedules and mentally turning off the water and draining pipes for an extended visit.
Wow. Well, I think we need to discuss that first, because we did have a little medical scare with Laura.
We did.
A few episodes ago. And so it is very nice to hear that things are going a lot better, and that that has passed. So, and also apparently she'd been to other doctors and they were confused, or they never picked up on it.
Yeah. So I guess they were just getting multiple opinions on what was going on with Laura. They had said in a previous letter that they were thankful that it wasn't cancer, so they were ruling that out, but something was going on there, and just they kept seeking the different opinions on the matter.
So that was, but that's nice. That's comforting to know. And then we talk about, like, this is very interesting because we know that Joe is an actor, and we've seen, we've heard from him quite a bit. Heard talk about him. So it's really cool they were able to go down to like some diner or store. Right. And see him. And this is really interesting too, because, television, like, this is when it's coming in. So it's really cool to get a first person account of like what that's like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because we have how many? Oh gosh, I don't even want to.
We have it on our phones. Yeah. We have it on our phones. For our audience that's really fascinated in like really the standardization of having television in the homes, there's a lot of content coming up for the rest of season 2 about this and about the things that they're getting to experience the first time. So we have a whole episode coming up. Don't you worry about when they get a television. And we have a whole episode coming up about when she's recommending what types of television for Chester and Laura to consider. It is really, really great content. It's coming up very, very shortly. But here we get the first mention that Joe is appearing in television. Now, he's been on stage, as you said. He's been in summer stock in Maine. A lot of like theater companies for the summer. He travels around. This is the first time we really hear about him showing up in the television. He was a union actor at the time, and I have a couple of things to share with people, because now we're in the 50s, and I didn't want to bring this in until we got to the 50s, because this is really when the television episodes come up. I want people to have an image in their minds of Joe. Joe would appreciate that you have an image in your minds as Joe. He very much wanted to be famous. So,
let's make Joe famous.
Let's make Joe famous. Like, yeah. And one of the things I've been working on is trying to slowly, there's been digitalization efforts by people out in Hollywood to try to digitalize some of the old television shows and things like that. So I keep hoping that one day I'll get to see one of these shows digitalized and see Joe just like walking in the background or something like that as an extra, because we know in which episodes of things he appeared. So I have a couple things. I'm going to go ahead and share one of my screens right now and go to a very popular website with regards to looking at movies and actors and things like this. I did not create this page. This existed before this podcast, but wouldn't you know, if you go to imdb.com, there is a listing for Joseph Graham, and that is Blue's brother, Joseph.
Oh my goodness. So there is a list. Oh, neat.
There is.
And look, I'm sorry. It says Joe Graham, and it says the 8th?
Yeah, well, probably because there's like 8 other Joseph Grahams.
Okay.
Yeah, common name, right? Yeah.
Well,
but I do plan on sending IMDb his headshot because I know he'd appreciate that. And he kept his headshots, and we have a lot of them. That's the other stuff we're going to show in today's episode. You can see that he's listed out on some of these episodes. Now, the police story was a really major one. This was really like a radio show. So imagine it's like your crime drama, like you're watching Law and Order, and there's like someone playing like the butler, or playing like the detective, or this guy, the waiter in the background. He's going to do far more than one episode of Police Story. The nice thing is, from Sweetie's letters, based on when she's watching episodes and she recounts it, we're able to figure out on what date certain episodes would have aired. So hopefully at some point down the line, as they digitalize, we'll be able to put his full credits in there for which episodes are. But this is early 50s, as people can see on the screen. So, but he is on IMDb from the 50s, and that was a delight to see that. So that's one part. Then we've got some pictures of Joe, and I wanted to show just like a clear photo of Joe, and then his headshots in certain roles, so people could compare, because they're just so much fun. They were in their own envelope of all Joe, as if he'd handed them to Sweetie to be like, I need to make sure you have my official portraiture.
Well, thank goodness he did, right?
Yeah. So, and we get to see this. I always thought he kind of looked like, if the audio is listening and you don't get to the website, he kind of looks like the guy that plays Mr. Banks in Mary Poppins. That famous actor.
Yes, I can see that. I can see that. And this is actually, you have a picture of him in the opening credits of the podcast.
I do.
And so, but he's such a, he even has that kind of presence even through the photo. And he definitely looks like his dad.
Oh, yeah.
The resemblance is uncanny. Like, there's no Sydney in there at all.
Nope. He is a ringer for his father, for sure. Yeah. And this is like the nice clean photo headshot. Now, I'm looking for, I know we have his postcard with his union number and all of that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll send that off to IMDb as well, so they have all the old credits for him. But this is one of the most interesting, one of the most fun documents that we have, photographic evidence of his acting. I love this so much. so much. For our audio listeners, it's 6 headshots on like one big document. This document's larger than an 8x10. It's larger. It's like a 12x18 like poster, and it's Joe showing visually how he would appear if he were to appear in these episodes and like, or on stage in certain roles. So like in the top right hand corner, we have Joe as a policeman, and we have sort of like right below that, I would think maybe like a banker, or sort of like a corporate executive look. Then we have his hair styled a little differently, a little curlier in a couple other pictures. I think we have more of a blue collar workman in the bottom left hand corner. Above that seems to me to be more of like a lawyer or a politician version of Joe.
He definitely has range. He's able to like, you know, because I'm very, very good at seeing actors and actresses and other stuff and being like, oh, that's so-and-so in there in this other thing.
Yeah.
I think he could definitely confuse me.
Yeah.
He definitely could confuse me. He looks like he's got a bit of range.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to hear about the police story episodes coming up in future content. So you can just imagine there he is in the policeman's uniform. If they're like, oh, he played a cop walking in the background or something like that. Oh, there we are. So I'll try to get this content over to IMDb. Hopefully they'll be willing to update the page on him as more credits come up. But as we go into the story about television, as we hear repeatedly, this is the first time that we're hearing about Joe on television. So that's why it's brought up in today's episode. Now you have the imagery. And I think what I'm going to do because Joe would like this, is I will make an album just for Joe on the Love Sweetie podcast website that says something along the line like the megastar, you know, like television sensation.
The
Joseph
television sensation.
There we go.
Is
Can be found
Joseph
in
Graham.
The Waiter, in an episode we cannot find. We will find it. So, and have all this. We'll do that for Joseph and make sure that he gets his credits, and I'll link it to his IMDb page so that people can go there. Because there are a lot of film buffs that go and look into these things. But yeah, fantastic content. So check it out online if you get the chance. But I'm excited to get to the 50s to talk about Joe some more. Daddy's letter about the fire was really something. I shall save it, and whenever I feel the need for a good true story, I shall reread it. You've often spoken of writing a book, and after reading this again, I'm convinced that while you may be fully capable of writing a technical book, you surely do well on descriptive writing. Your narration was so vivid that I struggled with you and Jean as you fought in vain, shared your sheepish knowledge that you should go for help, and yet couldn't bring yourself to admit such foolishness and defeat. And when you wrote of Jean tackling you to prevent your dash to the pump, I all but stood up to cheer. And isn't it a funny quirk of the human brain and reasoning that you should take time to feel sorry for Jean's bedraggled appearance and futile efforts? As for your not mentioning the cause, I had thought far enough ahead to know that if it were left for you to decide, no explanation would be forthcoming from you. And no doubt had I been in your position, I'd have done likewise. It seems rather funny as I reread it, but at the first reading I shared your terror and almost your fatigue. I can just see Jean giving you the strong-arm treatment. What surprises me is that she let you get away with the drum at all. No doubt the sounds of the firefighting equipment were glorious sounds, and like you I congratulated somebody for grabbing up shovels, wet burlap, etc. However, at the risk of stepping on your toes, I was a little surprised. With your ability to judge wind, dryness, etc., what surprised me was that you should risk such an undertaking in the first place. All's well that ends well, though. My biggest regret is that I had to miss it all.
So I really like how she just kind of dances around what she's trying to say here. However, at the risk of stepping on your toes, I don't want to, to upset you, Daddy, but maybe that was really stupid.
Yeah.
Like he knew, and she is trying to say in the most nice way possible, and I really appreciate this about her. She's really trying to say that was really dumb, Dad. That was they could have died.
Yeah.
And like this is how men are. They're like, oh, but we didn't. Like we almost died, but it didn't happen, so it's all good. I'm just like, oh, good Lord.
She calls out everything we called out. Like,
yes,
it was like dry outside, right? And like the wind was blowing. She's like, I was a little surprised with your ability to judge the wind, aka you're an idiot. But like, I can't just come out. Tell me, like, how do I say you're an idiot without saying you're an idiot? Like, that's how you do it. So for everybody listening, if you're looking for artful ways
to tell somebody they're an idiot.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it. I was a little surprised. Yeah.
But I also, too, I want to say, and I told this to you earlier, I just adore it in this collection of letters when we get a letter about something and then we get a follow-up letter about that, like the different perspectives. It's really fun. And so this was really cool to hear about the fire again from a time after it's happened, after everything's happened, after everybody's okay, and after, the whole situation has passed. But yeah, he was an idiot.
She's absolutely right about his narrative description, his ability to do this. Her narrative description's far past his, but his is very, very good when she's talking about how he wanted to write the book. He'd mentioned that in a previous letter. Hey, everybody, go back to episode 74, and I believe 71 is when determination and cussedness. That's a very important episode. We have a couple Chester pieces here that if you've missed them, you'll probably want to go back and listen to. Go back and listen to episode 71, determination and cussedness. This is the episode in which he mentions that he's thinking about writing a book. He's talking about his engineering. It's also the one that we find out that he's self-medicating with morphine. So that's going on in the background, though she makes no comment out of it here.
Mm-mm.
Episode 74 is the fire itself. That's his narrative. But also there's one from season 1. If you want another dose of Chester's narrative, it's one of the more haunting episodes. It's called On the Edge of a Cornfield. And this is when he's trying to revive the serviceman that's basically concussed and had fallen into a river, and he's trying to administer CPR. And it's like one of these big doctor moments, but it's another big description of the scene that Chester gives, and it's of comparable size to the episode The Fire. So if you didn't go back and listen to a bunch of the season 1 episodes, but you're interested in how Chester describes things, look for that episode. At the Edge of a Cornfield is the title of that one, and I'll put that one in the description of the video here, the link to that one as well. Lewis did not mourn the sale of the cousins as much as I had expected. As a matter of fact, I put off telling him of it, as I thought we would be soothing his ruffled feathers for some time to come. I tried to put it the best way I could, and in telling him that Pirtles had decided to make one a little boy's pet, he seemed to take it well. I do not think it was necessary for you to send the amount of sale to him. We do appreciate it, and shall add it to what little savings he has. His insurance is keeping us strapped right now, along with the family income policy of Lou's. I halfway said we'd get him some more some other time, but where to keep them? They are dirty things, though those ducks were pretty nice pets. Have even considered usurping a little of the neighboring woods to put a pen, but shall wait and see if the subject is renewed. Now about the grinding tool. Lou does not have any grinding tool, and if you can take off the red head covering, he'd be very grateful for it. He is trying to fix up a nice basement workshop, and has brought up some washstands, tables, etc., with which to make tool cabinets, a tool bench, and arrange them in usable and convenient order. He welcomes new tools, and would be glad to have it, if you do not feel you are giving up a close friend. Yeah.
Well, so just to clarify, the when she speaks of the mourn the sale of the cousins, yeah, that was just some ducks that Lewis had while they were out there, because they did live out there for a little while.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not actual cousins.
Yeah.
Ducks.
Yeah. Pet ducks.
So,
yeah.
But he doesn't seem to be too upset about it. I think it's probably an object permanence thing.
The tools are interesting to talk about. That we get the mention of Lou wanting to set up a workshop. This is going to be a big thing throughout his life. His son certainly inherited this ability to be like, oh, cool, old tool, and things like that. I had an acquaintance over, a friend over, and I know where Lou's tools have survived, a lot of his spare parts that he would go through and collect. And I was taking a friend down to see them. And because they're very organized, he actually got to the point where he decided to he somehow acquired some card catalogs, like really old card catalogs in the library. And each long drawer is filled with these are all the screws of this type. These are all door hinges of this type. They're all there. We still have all of them. And it's like, oh my gosh. So he's just going to keep on doing this. So yeah, he wants a grinder. He wants everything he can get his hands on. Lou likes fixing things. He works on planes over at NAS Willow Grove. So yeah, just fun parts there. But the update about Pirtles, about the cousins, the ducks. But cutting into the next section of this letter, man, this is a mega letter. We're going to keep running through. She's going to give us more of a recap. This is February. She's still talking about stuff from December. That's part of the reason that this letter goes for as long as it does. Enjoyed your account of the trip to the hospital and felt that under the circumstances you were perfectly justified in commandeering any car that would serve your purpose. Laughed a little at your hair-on-end ride in the towing, but your telling me about the Ford slipping on the steep hill and using the tractor did upset me somewhat, and I wonder if your being safely delivered from the fire and the hospital trip hasn't made you a bit brazen and bold. Don't push your luck too far, or as Rosemary One-Eye Ripperger says, your guardian angel is going to stop guarding. Yeah, I'm going to pause here real quick if people want to get the recap of this. This is when Dr. Demaree, in the middle of the night, heads to Des Moines for the person that has the appendicitis. And this is when he gets the Good Samaritan, the teenagers, to tow the car into Des Moines, and then Jabil has to tow it out. And another big adventure. This episode is actually in the previous week's episode. This is episode 75. When we start off 1950. So if you missed that episode and where that content is, yep, it's in that one. So Lewis does feel the restrictions of being in the house, but he has a good many things to occupy his time and energy. A slate with chalk, and he is in seventh heaven if he is allowed to glue. His greatest trouble lies in getting things spread out so that there is not one safe place to set a foot, and then decides he is through, and there is much too much to be picked up and put safely away. He also got a set of Lincoln logs for Christmas that are entertaining. However, it is a small set, and there aren't enough pieces to build very extensively, and likewise it makes too many little pieces to be rounded up and put away. I have wished for some time now that we had a good camera and believed that I could manage a roll film, Greyflex. Especially will I want one when the flowers begin to bloom and the trees are lush in the woods close by. Have wished I had a nice picture of Lewis to make some valentines as we did when he was a baby. Oh yes, I think I wrote you that all of my 12 Henryfield jonquils are up. Their green spears are about an inch above ground. This warm weather and plenty of rain has started them ahead of schedule, and while I did get out some tin cans and old flower pots to cover them, the man across the road said I should not cover them, that if the tips froze, they would still come up and bloom, so I uncovered them, though I felt as though I were taking blankets from a new baby. I have written for a good many seed catalogs, and have got a lot to choose from. Believe Burpee here in Philadelphia compares favorably with H. Field, and in view of shipping, etc., may use them for the greater part of my seeds. Like you, I'm anxious for the flowers to start blooming again, and am really looking forward to a garden. Oh, I wanted to ask you, the glory of the snow aren't up, and I wonder if I could have planted them too deep, seeing as how I practically laid my strawberries to permanent rest. I'm going to grow some broccoli, cauliflower, and some other things, too, that we've cultivated a taste for. I hope I can have good luck with this garden, since I'm so enthusiastic for it for the first time. As for the kosher meat, with the prices of meat what they are here, whether it is kosher or not seems to be the least of my worries. Actually, Lewis has been more disturbed by the fact that you were going to butcher Chuck than by the fact that the ducks had been sold. I heard someone say stolen on the radio. This time, though, I think you ought to tell us the prices of the meat, so we can pay you for such provender. Mamma's last letter said you'd had 5 below zero weather. Seems hard to imagine since we have had such Florida-like weather, and when we do have a cold day, it seems unbearably cold. Was glad to get the news of the locale. Wasn't too familiar with some of them. Our car, like yours, should have an extended visit to the hospital. It has recently developed a grinding that sounds as though its little insides were all ground up to nothing but sawdust. We have decided to patch it for a while at least, as the cost of cars seems staggering, and for no more than we go, we'll be forced to use this one a while longer. Wish I could go with you to the Grand Canyon, but fear now that I'll not even make the annual trek home to Lacona. I must have a garden to see if I can't save on the winter food bill. Lou's car is not fit for a trip to the barber shop, let alone such a jaunt at that. If I had a freezer, I think I could just about make the bulk of our food, and I do not like the canned stuff very well. No plans are definite at this early date, so I still hope and will try to get my hauling done a little in advance if possible, to make things easier for any sudden decisions.
Oh, so this is February, and that is
Mm-hmm.
definitely the time that you start wanting to get
Yeah.
your garden out. And she's got the
Mm-hmm.
little jonquils. I have those too. Oh, and it's so nice to hear. They do come up first.
Yeah.
And then she mentioned Burpee, which was cool because that's like a brand I'm familiar with.
Yeah. Burpee's been around for a long time, but it's
Yeah.
very big for this area. But you know what I was really excited for this portion of this letter? Lincoln Logs. Oh my gosh. I loved Lincoln Logs as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the whole history of Lincoln Logs here. And, I honestly didn't know too much about the background of Lincoln Logs. And then there's also some news that I think the company that owns them filed for bankruptcy just recently. You can still buy them. So just in case, like if you're looking for something for kids for the upcoming holiday season, Lincoln Logs, like they're still in production. But the interesting thing about the Lincoln Logs, and I love, because Lewis said he wanted to be an engineer. He likes to build things. They were invented in 1916, just around that time, by John Lloyd Wright. So he is the second son of Frank Lloyd Wright. Isn't that great that Lincoln Logs are like from the Wright heritage?
That's funny. That was a
I
good
love
joke,
that.
Allison. But yeah, that's really cool. I had no idea.
Yep, and they're named after Abraham Lincoln because Lincoln famously once lived in a log cabin. So yeah, just an interesting history there, a nice piece, but it's nice that they're still in production. The thing is, Wikipedia is telling me that in 2024, so very recently, Basic Fun, that's the manufacturer, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Fortunately, a lot of bankruptcies are when you're just restructuring debt. So hopefully we'll continue to see Lincoln Logs far into the future. But this is a product that's been around for over 100 years.
But yes, I think Lincoln Logs are timeless.
Yeah.
And it's cool
Yeah.
to hear about these little toys, that you might not see.
Yeah. These we see.
We also learned too that she is still thinking about, like, she's like, I'm not going to be able to get out to Lacona.
Right.
And there's a trip to Grand Canyon that she was hoping, but I guess not. She's not going to be able to
Mhm.
make it because it's true. That would all be during times when she would have to be really focused on the garden.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get it out early, then you have to weed, you have to make sure you're trimming, you have to make sure you're covering if there's frost. I mean, you really can't go anywhere.
Right.
Definitely the month of June.
Mhm.
We don't plan vacations because we can't. Although when you do leave and then you come back and your garden's all like exploded,
Right. Yeah.
that's always a nice feeling. But
Yeah.
she's talking about, and she had mentioned a freezer before because we know the refrigerator broke.
Yep.
They had to get the refrigerator, but she really wants that freezer because yes, this is a way to preserve food. And she's thinking ahead too. She has the knowledge.
Yeah.
She has some knowledge, but she doesn't have the experience.
Right.
So she knows what she's got to do, but she needs to get through it first. I'm excited for garden content. Yes.
There's a lot of garden content throughout these letters. Speaking of garden content, I thought it was interesting that she gives this line. I'm going to read it. I'll bring it in front of me so I don't turn away from the mic here. Yeah, she says, I'm going to grow some broccoli, cauliflower, and some other things too that we've cultivated a taste for. Because she gives this line, cultivated a taste for, it occurred to me that maybe broccoli and cauliflower at that time in the Midwest were not things that grew well easily out there, and were probably not so much like now we have this just-in-time environment, you see it everywhere. But perhaps in the 40s, as she grew up, it just wasn't a thing in the Northwest or in the Midwest. So this seems to be more of like, oh, I've got this like more unusual vegetable. So in like sort of to me, like it's ubiquitous. You get like steak, mashed potatoes, and there's like a side of like steamed broccoli, when you go out, but not a thing. So I don't think she grew up with that. And cauliflower's all the rage anyway. It's so wonderful for everything. So that might be something like that she's experiencing that Chester and Laura don't eat, that her sister doesn't eat. And she's like, it's interesting because she comments this out, and then she mentions the man across the street. That has to be Mr. Rieselman.
Yeah.
He knows a lot about gardening. We'll get into that in future content. I'm not going to spoil that, but trust me when I say the Rieselmans, they know a lot about gardening. So she's surrounded by some pretty good farmers and gardeners out there in her area as she journeys into this. But yeah, Jamie, you were talking about the trip. The car is not even gonna make it. The car is barely making it around the corner, let alone to the Grand Canyon for whatever Chester and Laura might be planning. And if people are wondering about that content, Chester and Laura potentially heading to the western United States, we'll see when that comes up. And we'll just leave that for some future point. But it's the first little teaser that we get of that content coming in. Frank, your letter telling of the snow and getting the sled out came to my mind yesterday as Lewis and I were initiating his. Our snow is practically gone now, and it came just yesterday. Seems funny, and not at all like Iowa when the snow lay around and got dirty and sooty. Here it hardly lingers long enough to get well tracked up. Yes, Christmas did seem much better in our own house. We have been here for several months now, and still I am always seized with an extra warm feeling when I come the last knoll and see the house waiting for us when we've been out somewhere. I have a much more settled and at-home feeling than I've ever experienced before, and I fear a smug expression most of the time. The story of Susie's party seemed like quite a venture, and I take my hat off to Maida for undertaking such a venture as that. We did go to 2 Christmas parties, one at the base that encompassed such a number of children in such varying ages that the best entertainment was to seat them and show a series of cartoons. Lewis was delighted, and still recalls the characters of the movies. One item of interest is that Santa arrives in an airplane that is towed into position in front of the doors, and the tractor hustled off behind the building, and the Santa officially arrived and is greeted by the kids. Well, this year he arrived in Daddy's airplane. it having been chosen as the cleanest and most recently waxed and shined. Louis let it be known it was Daddy's airplane, too. The other was a Sunday school party, and was much more a party than the other one, as the children were all of an age and separated into small enough groups to be easily handled in games, etc. There was a Santa, too, and Louis carefully introduced himself so that Santa would remember to associate him with the steam shovel and truck. However, in the midst of his interview, he abruptly turned around and came to me to say, "Mama, his whiskers are made of rag." And when I said, "Oh, it just looks like that," he said, "No, Mama, I saw the thing. The rag that holds it on." I'm afraid we have no suitable place either for the picture, as it is a large thing, and we have no suitable wall space to hang it properly. As for the piano, I've already written to you about that. I'm glad that you did get the package, sister, and I'm waiting now to hear from Jean that she received the 2 boxes to her house. Sent to her house, I mean. Have tried to do a little more and a better job of cooking, but find that aside from lack of seasoning, the cooking doesn't differ so much. Of course, there is a great deal more seafood here on the coast than in the Midwest, and whenever Lou and I go out, we usually pick some sort of seafood. That is one thing I don't cook well, and one thing that needs to be cooked right to be really good. I've learned to love fried oysters since I came east, and that is one thing that the mere mention of made me get the wretched nauseas. Economy is our prime concern, and hamburger is about the most economical, and I try to dress it up in a different way to relieve the monotony. Lou likes Spanish rice almost as well as I do, and I wonder if there might be a little Italian blood in me, as I love spaghetti and meat sauce, and am becoming quite good at making it, if I do say myself, as shouldn't. On rare occasions, birthdays or anniversaries, we splurge and have Swiss steak, which my husband says is better than his mother can make. Excuse that flying button. I have to worry about the road, too. Though we are well out in the country, this road is a cross-country hookup with 2 major routes, and the cars do go past here like the occupants were seeing how close they can come to having an accident and still escape. I wish we had a hedge or small fence in front to stop balls from rolling onto the road, just as a precaution. Though Louis has been well schooled about going out there, he usually calls me for help in such a case, and for that I'm glad. Wish I could see D. Wonder if he is still a butterball, and often find myself comparing Elizabeth's little Bobby with the D I remember. Bobby is as patient and as good-natured as D, but the exact opposite in coloring. Did I tell you that Elizabeth announced at the Christmas gathering that she is expecting another baby in August? I think. Jean, had the little farm toys arrived for Christmas, I fear the gifts from everyone else would have taken a back seat, as Louis is so crazy about them. I'm grateful to you for them. He immediately sat down to write and thank you, but he had to glue the letter shut, and by the time he had finished it, he had it wound up into just a ball. I've been wondering why you haven't written me about the job and all, and a recent letter from Mama said you didn't expect to keep that job all summer. That surprised me, and I wish I could be there to get a good account of the happenings firsthand. Right while I think of it, the neighbor's name is Carl Rieselman, telephone number 97J2, Hatboro. Enjoyed hearing of your trip to visit Marion and the rest of the gals, and was gleeful to hear of the clothes she gave you. I thought when Elizabeth found out about the new baby, she'd say, "Oh well, I guess I'll never get into these again," and hand them over. But instead she has said she was going to keep them and wear them when it is all over. If she doesn't stop eating, she'll be wearing a tent draped loosely. I'm envious of your floral stationery and wish I were in a position to cash in on the sales as we did in Des Moines. I never get to the city. It is perhaps just as well, since I don't spend money if I stay at home, and find that I've only 1 small rose note left. That is not a hint, as a matter of fact. I ask you, please do not go down now and buy stationery for me. I really ask you not to. I'm sorry to hear about Uncle Orrin's Donald having polio, and hope he'll not be too badly crippled by it. Every year seems worse than the one before, and I do hope that we can escape it with all our kids. I hadn't heard from Aunt Sarah, haven't for a long time, though I sent her a card and note at Christmas time. A letter from Aunt Mary said Clarissa had been married about November 12th, I think.
So they went to the base again, And
Right.
the plane, oh, that must have made Lewis just burst with pride. Oh,
Mhm.
and I'm sure, I wonder if Lou was there too. I hope he was, so he could
I'm
like
sure.
see his
Yeah.
son be so proud of him for the work he does.
Mhm.
That was really sweet.
Yep.
And also, I guess Lewis found out that Santa isn't.
Hmm. What
Er.
do you mean? Santa's real, Jamie, okay? This was just a helper.
This
A
is a
helper.
helper. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. You know, that so
I think this speaks to just you can't get things past Lewis.
no, you can't.
No, he
He's
is way
very
too sharp.
observant. He's like, "Wait a minute."
Mhm.
He's like, "Mm-mm." So, a
Mm-mm.
little suspicion going on over there. Yeah, those 2 moments are just so great, and I can just envision, like, this biplane being tugged in and the kids being like, "Whoa, Santa's in an airplane," following from the cartoon how they've got this all rigged up with the hangar there. And isn't that the best use for airplanes? To help Santa get around, you
I
know?
mean, yeah, that's what we should
That's
be doing. That's why we pay
yeah.
taxes.
Mhm. Naval base, war. No, no.
No.
We are going to get Santa to deliver the presents. I'd love if that was all we ever had to use military planes for, is just Santa delivering presents. But for the kids, it's really, really cute. She talks about the cooking. She talks about what they're eating. I always love when there's food descriptions and the things that she's enjoying there. I grew up eating Spanish rice. My mom would make that a ton of times, and I love that. She usually would stuff it in peppers
Mhm.
and bake it in the oven. Really, really delicious. So she's working with that. The whole part about the road that they're on, even though she says, though we are well out in the country. No, you're not, sweetie. Anybody driving through this area today will be like, this is not the country.
It was
So
back then. It
it
was
was
back
for the
then.
road just being newer, but they're flying along it, and there's a reason there. On the one side of County Line Road, which she's very, very close to, is the Easton Road. It's now modern day Route 611, but it's still called the Easton Road, and that's because it's one of the oldest roads coming out of Philadelphia to connect Philadelphia to Easton, hence the name. Usually these pikes are destination based. So that was the main road all the way back from the 1700s. On the other far side of it is the Bustleton Pike, but that's really close to Philadelphia. So this is just like one of those connecting routes that is going to hook up the major routes. So anybody heading towards Philadelphia could kind of avoid going all the way down the Easton Road by cutting through County Line and then getting into like the southern part of the county. Because if you look at a map of Bucks County, it usually comes up around election time because we're one of the deciding counties usually with how things are going to go. It's a very narrow county. So there's a very definite, instead of it being like very square in shape or something, there's a clear northern side of the county and a southern part.
Mm.
This is running on the line right between Bucks and Montgomery, and Bustleton is going to be like that bottom section there that's getting closer to Philadelphia. So the cut through is big. The trucks are going to be going through. I love her description here that she gives with regards to the trucks. You know, that they're seeing how far they can get before they create an accident. That's how fast they're driving down this road.
Do you remember when she had Dit's dog and it ran out into
Mhm.
that road and then the truck driver got all really mad at her?
Yep. Mhm.
That
Yep.
was, yes. So so I do remember you talking about, like, I do remember
Yeah.
her speaking about this road, and she's
Mhm.
right. And that is especially with a little boy, but he's
Mhm.
also very observant. He knows.
Yeah.
He knows not to go out there. So I'm glad
Right.
that that's not a problem.
Mhm.
Um but then she does talk about, then she, gets to Jean,
Yeah.
and I guess Jean is, I don't know what's going on with Jean. I need a letter. I mean, we need to talk. I hope she like writes a letter to Jean soon here, because
Mhm.
she has another. She's probably not going to be at this job for very long.
Mhm. Yeah, she's wondering about the work that
Mm.
Jean's doing. So we'll have to catch up with Jean at some point. And then, of course, she's like, "Don't be too generous, Jean."
She had to say that, but I guarantee you that she
Mhm.
probably sent her something.
Yep. And the final part here is we get to Uncle Orrin, and we'd covered this actually. That was also back in the episode about the fire, episode 74. At the very end, we learned that Chester's brother Orrin, their son Donald, is in the hospital for polio treatment. He'd been in for 3 months. It had been covered in the local news. So he's probably out about this point in time of the letter, but as of mid-January, by the time the date of that article appeared, he had still been in the hospital. There was a big polio epidemic going on for the individuals. He does survive. Donald does survive past that matter. It's unclear exactly how well he did after this. I mean, 3 months in the hospital for polio is obviously going to have an impact. I've updated the website with information about Uncle Orrin, though. We used to just have a link for Cyril's page. I'm trying to find a photo of Uncle Orrin, but he does have a little page to document on the website that this has occurred with these items as they've come up. So if anybody wants more information on that, episode 74, the fire and the polio information at the end. But we have one more part here of this mega letter, Jamie. Those pictures. My gosh, I didn't realize how few of them I'd remember. I did know some, but would have given a lot if you'd written on the back who they were. I'll send some to you, and you can return them to me after you tell me who they are. Haven't even touched the bottle of Dexy you sent, and there are most of the ones in the little flat can yet to be used. Don't often take it anymore, but should, as I'm almost as fat as I was. Ain't that awful, when I did nothing but starve to lose it? Wish you would send the directions for the cable. So far I haven't started the sweater, because I simply couldn't afford the yarn. Wish I could, for knitting gives me as much pleasure as anything I know. I've made a list of things I wanted to tell you all about, so I'll get that done and stop. I've already put most of the day into this, and must get a little work done at least. Like the dishes. I accidentally broke the bridge of my dark glasses and wonder about the best procedure for getting them fixed. Frank gave them to me, as they wouldn't fit his glasses. By the way, Consumers Report says they are the best buy, and I've used them for several years. They fold into a small case, and when sunny weather comes, I'll be lost without them. I'll draw a diagram on Papa's letter to show him, and hope you can tell me what to do about them. Yes, Papa, we are going to Sunday school. It is the Neshaminy Warwick Presbyterian Sunday School, and Louis loves it. He likes his teacher so much, and there are a lot of kids, at least 47 in his class on each Sunday. The teacher tries to give each of them a little special and individual attention. She told me of the difficulty she was having getting them in, get their snowsuits off, and settled for a while, and I offered rather timorously to give her a little help, and she snapped me up on it so fast I didn't know what hit me. So now I go with Louis, and when the coats are all taken off and hung up, I go on to my own class, and get there about the time class takes up. The minister came to call on me on Tuesday of this week. Lou had been off on Monday, and I had washed in the morning, had it finished, and scrubbed the kitchen floor before Lou got home for lunch at 11:15, and had cleaned the house, dusted and vacuumed, and was all done but a little patch in front of the door when he arrived. I was glad that the spirit had moved me that day, and had my hair been combed a little better and sweeper out of sight, would have felt like Mrs. Astor herself. In appearance, Reverend Ashland reminds me somewhat of Bill. But he isn't quite such a personality, kid, and he has an eye twitch, tick noticeable enough that I held my breath, lest Louis comment on it, or try to wink back. Gadzooks, what that kid doesn't think of. Yeah, I'm just going to pause the video here because there's a lot of content going on. Sunday school. Louis is now at the age where he's going to Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very famous old church. This church is not too far away from where I am now. It's from the 1700s. But if we go back, and actually I'd mentioned this to Jamie, we had talked about the farmer, Frank Early. He's buried in the cemetery that's outside this church. So if people are in the area and you want to see, there's a lot of revolutionary graves and things, and you want to see some of that. If you're like me and a historian, and you're like, ooh, a cemetery. And you can,
Yeah.
It's the thing. Maybe there are some. So if you're in the area and you're looking for like an old historic one where there's some very interesting headstones and revolutionaries and things, and I even think that Ulysses Grant's grandmother, one of the Simpson family, is in there as well. Unconfirmed, last I checked, but that's a historic one. Anyway, 47 kids in the class in Sunday school. This is the time of like the big churches having these giant Sunday schools. 40, 50. I've never seen a Sunday school in my lifetime where they had almost 50 kids in a class. So, but this was huge at the time, and she just calls it out because it's obviously bigger than Lacona. But I don't think that this is unusual. And this church isn't that far away. The car can make it there. The car will survive to get to this spot. It's not that far, only a few miles. So it can now the car's puttering along, like sputtering. Like if Chester's puttering, the car is sputtering. The car can sputter its way to Sunday school.
Oh, I have my fingers crossed every single time I read a letter, hoping that they're getting a new car.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's very fortunate that they live very close to the base.
Yep.
So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm sure that if they
Yeah.
had to, they would have to get something or have
Yeah.
some kind of arrangement. But luckily, it
Mm-hmm.
hasn't gotten to that point. But yeah, definitely got my fingers crossed that they get a new car soon.
Yeah. And then we have the visit from the minister. But the best part is the worry that Lewis is going to say something inappropriate.
Well, he notices everything, and she
Yep.
knows this.
Mm-hmm.
She knows this. So yeah, so that was really cool. I do, and she really loves her house. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's really
So
nice to
happy.
hear, like, how she's getting better at cooking. She
Mm-hmm.
enjoys cleaning. She like sees it and it makes her feel good.
Right.
These are all wonderful, wonderful
Mm-hmm.
things. Like, this is definitely a happy letter, and she's in such a great place. Even though they have their struggles,
Mm-hmm.
she is grateful,
Yeah.
and that's very important.
The people in the twin greenhouse have had their new baby girl. I thought how silly to live so close and be so distant. So I took my pride by its neck and sat down and wrote her a little note and sent it to her, along with a congratulations card, offered to help if I could be of help in any way, and in return received a stiff-necked note, but the Venetian blinds still stayed down and closed. What a shame, too, for I rely on the sun to do my afternoon house heating and save my oil bill. So I'm ready to give up. Elizabeth, Bob, G-Mom, and Mr. and Mrs. Brown are coming up Sunday for a little while, I think, if all goes as planned right now. Not for dinner, but for a little visit in the afternoon. Mrs. Brown couldn't come at Christmas time as she was having a bad cold, but Elizabeth gets the gads, and so she instigates most of these trips. Also, by coming out in the afternoon, she can inveigle them into eating Sunday dinner out and save cooking. Also, Dottie has been after me to come up. I've just refrained from writing her for several letters, but now feel that I'll ask her to come once and then let the thing ride. More about that later. G-Mom's house has been sold, and she is out permanently with Elizabeth, and the house is already in the process of being dismantled. At least the porches are gone, the back shed is gone, and the chicken house is gone, and there has been a big bulldozer in leveling off the ground, and I doubt if the house will remain standing very long. It is a sad sight, and Mom refuses to even look at the place, and perhaps it is just as well. But here's the funny thing. She has never yet received a cent of money in settlement. How they have managed to mess up the whole thing like this, I'll never know. We've filed our 1949 income tax report, the first time in history we haven't battled with the deadline, and of course we expect to get a little refund, or no doubt we'd battle again this year. I hope we will get the refund soon, and now I wonder what we'll do with it. Right now my first idea is just to sit up all night and watch it. But perhaps I'll wait until the insurance dividend and the state bonus comes and sit up all night and watch all three of them. I'm not sure how much of an insurance dividend Lou will get, roughly $300, and the bonus, which won't be coming along for a while, should be about $400. But Lou says that we must bank that or do something to protect it for a long time, and I'm in harmony with the idea. It is late, and my back aches from sitting so long. I'm sure you'll have headaches from eye strain before you wade through all this anyway, and so I must stop. I hope this will take me off the list and keep Mama from any recurring nightmares. Everybody write now and be sure to tell me how the things in the boxes arrived and how well they can be utilized. Love to all of you. Sweetie, Lou, and Lewis. Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, she leaves like the sad bit for the very, very end here. And that's really the sale of Collingdale, of the Graham family home. And she reveals that this is not a home that's going to get fixed up or sold. It's being bulldozed. And it is completely. 936 Springfield Road. The Grahams are some of the only ones that have the photographs, of course, of what was there. Because right now it's an intersection. This was a busy area. There's like a Dunkin' Donuts there. It's like sort of a commercial area. So just major intersection. There's nothing to see when you go through there. It was in just a bustling area, and I'm sure the developers who probably own some of the commercial property around there was like, yeah, we're going to run a road through here. So she's talking about the dismantling. So that is, that's done for.
And it seems really sad too. It seems like the people who purchased it really fleeced G
Oh my
Mom Graham.
gosh.
Like they
Yeah.
really took advantage of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that really bothers me because she probably and she hired her big fancy lawyer, but
Right.
we know Sweetie's opinion of that lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that really is it's very sad because
Mm-hmm.
it's the closing of a chapter. You can't go back
Yeah.
to it ever. It's a final eternal thing. So I
Mm-hmm.
can understand like that, but it also is what it is.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's really not that much that can be done with that.
Yeah.
And we learned about remember that the lot that they built that the house was built
Right.
on.
It was a twin.
Yeah, and they've
Mhm.
never talked to that person. I guess they moved in at some point,
I guess so.
and she didn't even mention that.
Right. And she's like, well, I guess I'll try to just, nope, that they're not interested. She only has the two neighbors. It's the people in the twin house and the Rieselmans. And I bet she probably had a conversation with Mrs. Rieselman and was like, oh, they snubbed me again. And Mrs. Rieselman's probably like, well, they're not using my telephone. Like, I can see that being the case. She extended the laurel and said, hey, congrats. And then just a whole bunch of nothing. To this day, I don't know the name of that family.
That's so
They don't have a relationship. But speaking of neighbors, she mentions her old neighbor right at the end of this letter here. Miss Dottie from Norwood, has checked in with Sweetie. And Sweetie's like, speaking about closing a chapter. She's like, we can close this chapter. She has fond memories of the time in Norwood, but she doesn't need more Dottie in her life right now. And she's finding the best way to handle that.
Dottie can stay in Norwood.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They bought that house there. She can annoy some other neighbor.
Yeah.
Dottie was just not a kind of person that seemed like her and Sweetie meshed well.
Yeah.
So
different personalities. So not like Rieselman. Oh, she's meshing great with Mrs. Rieselman.
Oh yeah, they seem to like really click. But she did say something more on Dottie later. So I'm looking forward to some Dottie stories because it's always nice like when Betty comes up. So it's always nice when like past characters kind of come in.
Ruskies appear every now and then, the best man from the wedding. I love when the Ruskies appear. We continuously do get that because it's the parallel storyline. They're very similar to Sweetie Lou and Lewis. And they have it's a wonderful story. But then, and somebody brought this up in the YouTube comments, you are 100% correct. We did fail to say this when she was talking about filing the income taxes in a recent episode. And here at the end of this, she talks about dealing with the 49 income taxes. They're waiting for the refund and all of that. It was reminded to us as libertarians that we failed to say that taxation is theft in that episode. So let us not lose the opportunity, Jamie, in this episode. Taxation is theft. Maybe I'll even put it across the screen just to make up for that. But thank you to our listener there. You're absolutely right. Taxation is theft.
Taxation is theft.
There we go.
Yeah, and I really do feel like a little bit. I mean, even sometimes like my husband and I will be together and we'll see something and we'll be like, taxation is theft.
Yeah, it's just instant. Actually, I was seeing I saw this funny photograph. It was a meme on one of the channels of social media I was on. And it says, if you ever get lost in a wood and you need someone to find you, just start talking about taxes and a libertarian will arrive on the scene to tell you that taxation is theft and lead you to safety. Basically, that was the gist of it. So true. But that's it for this letter. Obviously, she must have gotten the typewriter back from Dit.
Oh, did she? I didn't even look. Oh my gosh.
It is a typewriter.
It's a typewriter. Oh my god, it's pages. Oh.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I got the typewriter back. I can move. And then she's finally all day. I guess I should do the dishes. Yeah. Probably. So.
I had to read this letter in installments. I just want to put that out. Like I had to read this letter in installments. It took me so long. So I can't imagine how long it took her to write it.
Yeah.
But so that brings us to the end of our awesome mega letter. And I'm very excited. We're now hearing from Sweetie in 1950. I'm very excited because we're getting very, very close to we're getting very close to the end of this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of big stuff coming for the end of this season. Like we've been teasing the television stuff. Let me tell you, the stuff at the end of the season, as Jamie knows, for our audience's benefit, if we're going to tease a little bit of that, it's well bigger than Sweetie getting a television. There's a lot of big content coming up. So definitely you'll want to tune in throughout the fall as we head towards it. Season 2 is going to wrap up at the end of January of 2026. So if people are kind of wondering like where this is going to lead to, the website has been updated. There are some things that are marked as spoilers that are shielded from view at this time. So if you're wondering what, but you can see the dates heading towards, we'll head into 1951 by the end. But before we get there, we're also in some future episodes in the very near future, we're going to have to catch up with what's going on in the world. It's 1950. There's a lot that's going to start happening world history wise, especially as we head towards May and June, around that time period of 1950. So for people wondering about the history and what's going on in 1950, that's coming up. But thank you everybody for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Love Sweetie podcast. Again, please like, share, and subscribe and do all that fun stuff on all the various channels. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.